What's the deal? It's your boy Kelly Flicks. We back with Around the AUC with my boy Damien for another episode, man. It's gonna get deep, and we talking about Clark Atlanta football. Coach Teddy Keaton, we always talk about him, but this episode we're gonna get into the intricacies of the program. So, rumor number one, Damien, red turf, is it happening or what?
I I hope that it does. I'm not for sure if it is going to happen. I know Coach Slater, who was the previous coach, who's a coaching legend in the HBCU game out of Tuskegee, then came over to Clark. I know he was asking for it. I hope it do happen. Be really, really, really great for Clark's branding, that distinguishing that red turf like they have up in Eastern Washington. Everybody know Eastern Washington got that red turf, just like everybody knows that Boise State has that blue turf. So if Clark can get that red turf, I think that'll be great for them, great for branding, great for recruiting. I just think it's a big, big, big deal if they can get that red turf. Plus, it'll look pretty against them uniforms too.
Yeah, no, I think it looked great. The biggest thing about this whole red turf situation is the fact that the news kind of broke a year ago, and it's kind of has been swept underneath the rug up to now. And I bring it up now because in the offseason, that's where you see the most improvements to facilities, track and fields, locker rooms, stuff like that. This is the right time to do it. So, just trying to uncover a surprise before it happens. But how long do you
Yeah.
think the red turf will take to install?
Oh shit, take those guys like a week, not even a week, to be able to get their turf down. They have to come in and pick up the turf, the previous turf, come in, put down some new rubber, then lay that turf on top of that turf down on top of it. It won't take long. They just basically rolling out that turf and just sewing it together. You know, I know what you were saying about the off season. Right now, this probably wasn't the best time to do it in Georgia. You know, it's a lot of rain. It's kind of cool after the spring game going into the summer. I expect to see some red turf over there at Clark.
Right. So then, hey, look, if you kind of look into the spring game, let's get into the spring game madness. So, Division Two
Yeah,
football has now allowed for all football teams to now play against any division football team in a spring game. You know, no longer will we be stuck watching spring games that are inter squad scrimmages. Now your Morehouse could go schedule anybody. And who I'd like to put on the table is Clark. I think Morehouse and Clark should go ahead and scrimmage for their spring game. What say you?
yeah. It's a great idea. I think it's a money maker for both schools. I think each school can come out of there with between $50,000 and $100,000 if it's marketed right and if it's done correctly. I definitely think that, and you can have this as an ongoing thing or in a type of rotation, like over every 4 years you end up playing your AUC rival. Uh, 1 year it's at Morehouse, the next year it's at Clark, or you go play at Lakewood. You go play at one of the high school stadiums, one of the stadiums that the public school system own. Charge $10 to get in, have food trucks, college fair stuff, a DJ out there with your bands, and put on for the community and for these kids so they know what the AUC is. They know what Clark is. They know who Morehouse is. You involve Spellman in this as well. You involve Morris Brown in this as well. And it could be really, really, really nice. But it has to be done correctly and it has to be marketed right. If it's marketed right, you got something.
Right, and I think the marketing to me is just strictly on campus. How many
Well, yeah.
students and family and supporters can we get up here? Because you put a game like that, the Morehouse and Clark game, you move that up all the way to March or April. You know what I mean? When the weather might be a little bit better than when it was in November, you might get
Yep.
even bigger showing.
And that's true. So like I said, it could be a great thing, especially if you get the high schools involved. It's 1,000 high schools in the Metro Atlanta area. It's no reason that you shouldn't be recruiting some of these kids. You should have 20 to 25 of those high school kids coming to this spring game so they can see what Clark is about and they can see what Morehouse is about. That spring game should have roughly 12 to 1,500 recruits there, just walking around on the field, watching the game, and you jumpstart your recruiting. So we don't have to go and recruit after the last high school game. Let's go ahead and start to recruit some of these kids early. Some of these kids want to come to Clark, want to come to Morehouse or Tuskegee or Savannah or Benedict, but we wait so long that we end up losing these kids to different programs at different divisions. And I'm not talking about Division One. I'm talking about we losing kids to Division Three, to NAIA, to JUCO, because we waited so long, and these kids has built a relationship with these coaches over the period of 9 to 18 months because we drag our feet when it comes to recruiting. That game that can be something. It could be the battle of the AUC, the spring jam, whatever you want to call it. But you should have 12 to 1,500 high school kids that game, from rising seniors to rising sophomores. And then you also gonna have the kids who fell through the crack, who still want to play college football, but might not have had the opportunity or being given a chance to be able to play college football. Bring them kids out too, so they can so those kids can see what your campus is like. Our job as HBCUs, especially our coaches, is to educate these young men and these young women. Yeah, maybe this kid can't play for you. That's fine. Bring that kid in as a manager, as a statistician, as a video guy, so he can get a jump on a career 4 years down the road. Teach this kid how to be an SID. Teach this kid how to take film and how to break down film. You know, it's more than just football. It's other things that these kids can do outside of just playing football for you and your program.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about SIDs, I think there's plenty of SIDs and SIC that could use some help. I mean, I look at
Yeah,
Morehouse College. Edwin Klein, Peter, he didn't have his stats updated at around week 4, week 5. You know, they
you
talk
know,
about me about being on the top 5 quarterback list, and his stats is outdated. You know, so that's
you
a
know
lot
what I
for those
mean.
schools.
Yeah, you take one of these kids who want to be involved with your program, even though he probably can't play for you. You bring that kid in and show him how to take film. Show him how to chart passes and how to keep stats, and then they can help out the SID.
Right. So then you mentioned even recruiting. Recruiting's always big during the spring game, but I really think that the amount of money that both of these schools could make for a Morehouse Clark spring game really outweighs anything else that would speak negatively. What are your cons? Do you think that this is something that probably won't happen?
My cons is, you got two new coaches. You got Coach Keen over at Clark, who I love dearly. Then you got Coach Mathis over at Morehouse, who's a really solid guy. I really like him. Uh, they don't want to show each other their hand just yet. Yeah, we're gonna see a little bit of what Coach Keen done because he's been in this space for a minute. You know, he was at Stillman, at Allen, now he's at Clark. Coach Mathis was at Savannah State in 2010, 2011. So that's going to be some of it there. They don't want to show their hand, and ain't nobody going to pay to watch no 25 dive and a 37 pitch and zipper rip corner out. Nobody's going
5 plays each.
to yeah, nobody's going to pay for that. But and that's one con. The second con is, by these kids being so close to one another. Clark and Morehouse is a mile and a half, if it's that. You can stand on one campus and throw a rock to the other. We need to make sure that cooler heads prevail if this does happen in the spring. Nobody wants for their own team to just get beat up during the spring. Nobody wants that. So now you're going into a spring game against your rival, and you been beating each other up for 3 weeks. Now you're ready to hit somebody else. So that can cause a little conflict as well. But there's nothing that cannot be overcame. We just need to make sure that everybody understands what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into a new age of college football. All the ranks, Division One, Two, Three, we're getting into a new age of it. And even with that being a thing, there are going to be other options for spring games. So
Yeah,
give me some of your options for Morehouse and Clark, and then I'll throw some of mine at you.
you know, the number one option for Morehouse and Clark, if they're not going to play each other, I would say Kennesaw State would be a good option. Kennesaw State's probably about 30 minutes outside of Atlanta. Uh, Mercer, which is in Middle Georgia, down near Fort Valley, that's another good option. Uh, Shorter, which is about 45 minutes outside of Atlanta. This is Division Two, uh, which is cool, but they're a decent year in and year out. If you want to keep it within the 2 to 3 mile radius, 2 to 3 hour radius, then you got Sanford, which is in Birmingham. You have Alabama State, which is in Montgomery.
Hold
You
on.
also
We get a little far now. I think we're looking over a school that's no less than 2 miles away,
Hey,
down there
hold
in
on, hold
Metro
on.
Atlanta.
I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. I'm still on my 2.5, 3 hours away kick right now.
We
You're
pretty
looking at
far.
Firm. You're looking at Furman, and you're also looking at Wofford. That's all within the 2.5, 3 hours radius. Now, I know who you talking about. I know you talking about that Georgia Tech, and I
Come
know you
on.
talking about, and I know you also talking about them Panthers of Georgia State. I I do not think either one of those schools will play Morehouse or Clark. I just think that the jump between Division Two FCS and up to FBS is just I just think that they'll look down like we playing Morehouse, we Power Five. Why are we playing Morehouse for? So that's the thing with Georgia Tech. That's the reason why I think that Georgia Tech won't play Morehouse. Georgia State, I think they'll be scared to lose to either Morehouse or Clark.
Shame on them.
Hey, Georgia State's kind of a new program. They've been around for 18 years. They play. I want to say they play in the Sun Belt. Had a pretty decent year. Got a nice little stadium. They play over at Turner Ball Park, which is now called CPAC, uh, where the Braves used to play. The HBCU MEAC SWAC kickoff is played there every year. Nice stadium, really nice stadium. I I just don't think that they will play Morehouse or Clark, Fort Valley or Albany. We got 4 teams within a 2.5 hour drive that can come up and play Georgia State. Georgia Tech, they're just gonna say hell no. Why y'all calling us? We play Clemson. We play Clemson in Florida State every year. Why the hell we gonna play Morehouse or Clark or Fort Valley or Albany? Hell, if we wanted to play one of these, if we wanted to play one of those schools, we play Georgia State, or we gonna play Georgia Southern, or we gonna play Kennesaw and Mercer. So you kind of looking at it along those lines there. They will Georgia Tech will play shorter before they play Morehouse and
No
Clark.
way.
Georgia
Shorter?
Georgia Tech will play shorter before they play Morehouse and Clark.
Wow. Yeah, no, I mean the way I see it, ACC versus SIAC matchup is far fetched for sure. But when Kennesaw gets into the mix and Kennesaw's FBS, when I think about Morehouse, I think about some money. You know what I mean? I think about a
Yeah.
school that really to me is more like an FBS school than FBS schools like Georgia State. To be honest, we talk about endowment, you talk
Yeah.
about popularity, you talk about just the amount of growth Morehouse could go through. So when I do see Georgia Tech, I go, oh, maybe that is a team that might be a good matchup for Morehouse. But I think that may actually be something that works out better in the future for Morehouse. Maybe
And I
even
think
better.
so too. Yeah, when Morehouse made their move to FCS to the MEAC, I can see that game happening. I know that the basketball team has play quote unquote Georgia State in some exhibition games. I want to say they played Georgia Tech a couple years ago as well in the exhibition game. But out on that gridiron's a little bit different than on that hardwood. You know you got to be able to stand up to one of those 6'6", 240-pound monsters they got coming off to the end. But we got monsters in the conference too. You know what I'm saying? So I think it could be a really, really good thing. I just don't think that either one of those schools will play one of the SAAC schools right now.
Okay. Well, we'll pause the Morehouse talk for now. Get into some Clark talk. Right now, I'm going to pull up on the screen Clark's football schedule, Damien. So going through it, they start off the schedule. They're at Fort Valley State. It's an early game. And they go to Allen. But you look at their non-conference schedule on here. It's going to be at Florida Memorial on 9/14 and at Bethune-Cookman on 9/21. So somewhat of a difficult schedule. How do you think they'll end up navigating this schedule?
The week 0 game against Fort Valley is it's a big game to start the year off. It's a SIAC game against the ringing Florida Beach Bowl champions.
I better watch out.
And then you talking about Coach Gibbs down at Fort Valley. KD is back. Kevin Durham is back. As far as we know, haven't heard any transfer portal dudes on him. So right now, I'm expecting him to be back 100%. We know that David Wright is at Clark. I also know that Coach Keene also signed 3 other quarterbacks during this signing period. So, right now, Coach David Wright knows Coach Keaton's offense like the back of his hand. So right now, I presume for him to be the starter. Going down to Fort Valley, it's going to be on Saturday. I'm sure it's going to probably be a 6:00 game. Nobody's trying to play a late August, early September game at 2:00 in Georgia. If you is, you crazy. It's beyond hot. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be a 6:00 game. Right now, with that game, I would go with Fort Valley. And the reason why I'm going with Fort Valley is you got Kevin Durham. That defensive line is pretty much all the way back. I know they got to replace some receivers. I know they got to replace a couple running backs. But that defense should be pretty much intact coming back from last year. I think they played 4 sophomores on the back end. Alderman is a senior. Want to say Harper's a senior. So they got some pieces on defense. They're going to have to figure out their offensive part, though. I know they got a couple linemen back. Durham is back. They got all the receivers is gone, and Marshall is gone. And I also think that Jackson, the backup, Kentrell Williams, I also think that he's not there no more. So, but I also know Gibbs signed a really good class as well. So that game it's a tough one coming right out the gate for Coach Keene and the Panthers of Clark, but I'm expecting a good game.
Okay. Let's go through it. Then Allen next.
Blowout.
Yeah, I think it's over.
Is it?
I think Allen's stock is down this year, guys.
Yeah, blowout. Not gonna be close. It's Clark by however much they want to be by. I think if they up 28-0, I don't think that they're gonna press it any more than that. I know Allen got some kids back, but you're losing your trigger man.
Means a
lot. Some of your guys is over at Clark with Coach Keaton. So yeah, so and those guys also played. It's not like those guys didn't play. Those guys played. So yeah, I think if it's 28-35-0, I think Coach Keaton take his foot off the gas because it is his previous employer. and he got love for Allen. So I don't think that he try to hang half 100 on him. I don't think he does that.
Well, I mean, he's gonna have to this next week. He plays at Florida Memorial. Bobby Rome, them boys down there was averaging around 40 points a game, around 600 yards total offense. I think that's a game I have circled, and that's a game that I'm unsure if Clark can even win it.
This this game here is going to be explosive, like you said about Coach Rome and Florida Memorial from last year. Those guys was tough. You know, and like Coach Thomas said, they get guys that walk out of the jail at 6 o'clock and then rolled in school by 9:30. So, but those guys they're good. They had a really good year last year. Really saw them a couple times, but I really don't keep up with them like that. But I know that their offense is explosive. And I think the Clark offense is going to be explosive as well. I'm expecting a good game. This game here is going to be a really good test for Clark. Really good test. I think the Fort Valley game is going to be a test, but I do have Fort Valley winning that one right now. I do. It might change by the time on August the 30th. It might change, but right now I have Fort Valley winning that game. I have Clark beating Allen, but that Florida Memorial game, whew, that we might see if every light on the scoreboard work that day.
That's gonna be a really good one. I mean, Florida Memorial is gonna have two SIC games so far. I don't know if their whole schedule is released, but they got the Big Cat
Yep.
Classic early against Edward Waters, which is probably gonna be a barn burner also. Then you play Clark
Mm-hmm.
in a couple weeks right after that. So I
Yeah.
guess moving on with Clark's schedule, they'll stay in Florida. They'll probably come back home, but they go back to Florida at Bethune Cookman the next week. That's gonna be a good matchup.
I think that will be a good matchup. I know that Coach Woody Woody down. Everybody's talking about this recruiting class that he has down now. This right here might be one that the SIAC can get the swag. This right here might be one. This right here might be one. So I'm expecting a good game for this one as well.
Yeah, part of this, the dichotomy of this new Clark Atlanta team, which is a lot to do with Allen University and those 8 players and head coach Teddy Keaton and a lot of the offensive staff. Allen didn't get a chance to punch up too many times. Their punching up was literally punching up in the same conference, punching up in the
Yep.
SIC. You punch up against Tuskegee or Albany or Benedict. Punching up now for this team is playing against a Division One opponent, and I really feel like a lot of these Allen players have been waiting for this moment to play against a bigger school like this. So I think this one is also a game that's circled on their schedules. And hey, I think an upset is a possibility, right? You got some
Yep.
hungry dogs that have been looking for something to eat, and you got a Bethune-Cookman team that, for a while now, I would say the better part of 3 years, have not been able to find a consistent quarterback, haven't been able to find a consistent defense and the passing
Defense.
game. They almost lost to Savannah last year. All the makings of maybe Clark coming out with a victory.
This right here is something else that we got to understand too. David Wright's home. He's a Florida kid. They playing in Daytona. He's from Tampa. I think it's a 3 hour ride, maybe 3.5 hour ride. And a couple of the guys who went with him over to Clark, all from their area as well. Yeah, this right here might be one that the SIAC takes down the SWAC here.
Hey, look, that was that same narrative for Fort Valley State and the Florida Beach Bowl. A lot of those guys going back home, and Fort Valley came in and showed out. So let's move on with the schedule. After Bethune-Cookman, they go to Lane College. Lane seems to be like they're under a rebuild. You have Polo Solomon still there. Do we take Lane serious?
I don't know if Polo gonna be there next year.
Hold on, what's that about? Hold on.
Yeah, I don't know if Polo gonna be there. Yeah, they benched Polo a couple times earlier this year. He got hurt a couple times. Yeah, and Polo can ball. I like Polo. Polo can ball. I just don't know. If Polo gonna be there next year. I don't know if Polo's just gonna be like, yeah, I'm gone. I'm transferring. But yeah, I don't know if Polo gonna be there next year. Even if Polo is there, they still lost their top receiver. He transferred to Norfolk State. Their defense last year wasn't bad, but it wasn't the usual Coach Brown type tough, gritty defense. You know, just like the offense wasn't that tough, gritty. One thing that you always going to know about Coach Brown and his guys at Lane, they're going to play with toughness. They're going to play hard all 60 minutes, and they're going to give everything that they got. I just didn't see that last year with Coach Brown and Lane with the couple games that I saw them last year. I'm going with Clark this game, unless I'm going with Clark this game.
I think it's safe to take Clark. And then next up, they go back home. They travel back home for the second time in the season. They're going to play against Savannah State. What do you think about that one?
That's going to be a good game. I'm going with Clark this game as well. Savannah got to rebuild their entire wide receiver room. You know, those two receivers that they had last year, those 2'3", 6'4" guys, they both have gone. A couple other younger guys are gone. What Savannah got to do? They got to figure out what Jaden Adams is. Is he a runner or is he a passer? You know, you got to. He struggles throwing the ball short to intermediate, but he throws a good deep ball. It just doesn't add up to me. So you got to figure out what he is and what kind of offense you can run with him. If he's because he can run the ball, he's a runner, but you know he got some quarterback skills too. If you can't run, I don't think that you can run a pro style offense with Jaden Adams. You need to run some spread, some read option with him. Get him some run pass options coming out of that, some RPOs coming out of that, and then maybe. But right now, yeah, I'm going with Clark for this game.
Hey, so that would make us 6 games into the season. I just want to point this out too, because I think that Clark is probably one of the top 3 teams at SIAC this season. This schedule is extremely soft. It's very, very soft. And through the first 6 games, your league opponents are Savannah State, Lane College, and Fort Valley State. That's it. Going into week 7 right here, this Clark team could possibly have 5 wins. We could be looking at a 5-1 team, a team that's atop the SIAC. So just keeping that in mind. The next week they play Central State.
They play at Central State. It's October. Central State got some pieces. They got those two defenders, linebacker and lineman, who I think they finished 1st and 4th in the country last year. Tackle for losses. This game here is going to be a tough game for Clark. That's a long bus ride to Wilberforce. That's going to be a tough game for Clark.
They gonna take a bus?
That's a bus ride. They're not flying.
Wait, did Morehouse take a bus to Ohio last year?
No.
Oh, okay. Morehouse, my bad. Morehouse act different. My bad.
No. The Ohio game last year, that was part of the transportation. That was part of the transportation.
You got to work that out beforehand.
Yeah. I'm thinking that they probably take a bus. Wilberforce from Atlanta. Let's see how far that is.
Ooh-wee. Go ahead, packing bags for that. That'll probably be one of Central State's biggest games of the season.
Well, Flitz, this right here's the problem. It's a 7-hour drive, and you ain't over 600 miles, so the NCAA don't pay for it. NCAA only reimburses for games over 600 miles. And I only think that's for the playoffs anyway. That was kind of one of the reasons why they sent Union to Kutztown last year, trying to, I think that's going to be a tough game. I know that the quarterback who started a lot of games for Central State last year, Alex, I think it was his last name, Mullins.
Not Mullins, something else, but I know he's talking about that.
I know that he went back into the transfer portal, so maybe Brandon Kyle end up starting again for them. So
he might get a chance.
Yeah, so I think that game there's a toss-up game to me. And there's nothing in Wilberforce. So, you're on the bus for 7.5, 8 hours, then you get there and ain't shit there for you to do when you get off the bus.
Right. Yeah. And I hear you. I do feel it does feel like a trap game. If the season ends up how I think it's gonna go, that feels like a trap game because the
Yep.
week after that you play Miles College, then Tuskegee. So you
Yep.
might be looking ahead of this whole thing. You might be on that 7 hour bus trip thinking about Miles College and what they got going on because they might make a run at the championship.
Yep.
So
And that next week is homecoming as well against Miles. So you just never know. But moving on to the Miles game, Miles got to find a quarterback. Klein Peters done.
I like
So
the old guys.
Klein Peters done, but Shea does recruit well.
He does.
You know, he found Klein Peter. Klein Peter came in, lit the conference up. I wouldn't be surprised if he found another QB to come in and trigger that offense. Their defense is really good, long DBs. But Miles also was one of the older teams in their conference last year. I think that they got a lot to replace on the offense line. I think they losing 3 seniors on the offensive line. On the D line, I think they're losing 2 seniors on the D line. I think they're losing a couple linebackers and a couple DBs as well. But Shea does recruit well. Shea recruits high school kids well. Shea also recruits JUCO kids well, and Shea also gets kids out of the transfer portal as well. So you look at you. We take a look at this Miles team. This is Coach Shea third year. They was 1-9 his first year, 7-3 last year. Found the trigger man, and their players was older. So that's going to be a test for Clark as well.
Yeah, it's really funny to be talking about Clark in this fashion. Like they have this premier game against Miles College when last year Clark Atlanta was actually 0-10, right? They didn't win any games. But in looking at this schedule, look at the recruiting, you look at the coaching, they are trending up right now.
Yeah,
And
most definitely.
keep mentioning, I think Clark is in that new top three in SIC. I will pull Tuskegee out of it to put Clark in it.
Okay.
I'm that serious about Clark now. So they play Tuskegee
Okay.
next week. I think Clark can take that matchup.
And the greatest one, not past the Laker in '92 wasn't too bad.
I'm aboard, bro.
Hey, you know what? Hey, you aim high, baby. You aim high. You ain't doing no $5 bet. Hey, if you could bet the house, that will also be a good game. With Tuskegee going through the coaching changes that they're going through now, uh, they also have lost some pieces as well. They also signed 30 kids too, so that would be a good game. And as we sit here talking, Clark's schedule is backloaded. It's backloaded because you got Miles, you got Tuskegee, and you have Morehouse, which is always an emotional game. But it's really, really, really backloaded, and it's kind of soft in the middle with Lane, Savannah, and Central State. But like we were saying, Central State is kind of like a trap game, and it's hard going to Lane to play as well. So, and that game is at Lane, so we'll see. But yeah, I think that's going to be a good game as well against versus Tuskegee.
Yeah, no, I think the losses for Tuskegee just have begun to mount up against them. You lose Antonio Meeks out there, you're losing Jeremy Dees to Senior Bowl and everything like that. You're losing so many intricate pieces to that team. I look at Clark and I go, well, you have the SIC Player of the Year behind one of the best O lines in the conference. Then you bring in Armand Harris, David Wright's best friend at wide receiver.
Yep.
This Clark
You
team has a
know,
lot of options that some other programs may not be afforded. Same way, you lose the Meeks option. And I think Petty's also in the transfer portal. I can't confirm
yeah,
that.
I
So,
think that he is.
so yeah, just looking at something like that, you gotta wonder what Tuskegee's gonna be. Tuskegee is always gonna be Tuskegee, but I look at this Clark team and I go, well, they put their team together before yours, so it is what it is.
Well, the one thing that we do have to realize is Clark back in last year on defense was all basically freshmen and sophomores. The two linebackers they got was really young. They were sophomores. So they're gonna try to plug and play up front, but they're gonna have some experience coming back in that back in that defensive backfield and that back seven on offense. You know, they got to figure out who's gonna be the quarterback. If it's gonna be Roberson, if it's gonna be Nettles, whatever. They got to find, but Clark, not Clark. Tuskegee also has that running back coming back as well. They got two really good ones who were freshmen last year, so they got some pieces. Now we're just gonna see how they're gonna put them together, but they got some pieces.
They do. I mean, I'm sure that'll be a game with a lot of fireworks. We saw a couple
Yeah.
years ago a big Clark game, Clark and Tuskegee game. So maybe this is brewing into a rivalry. And the last game of the season, big rivalry. Like you said, it's gonna be emotional.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Clark at Morehouse. We haven't gone through Morehouse schedule. We'll do that in the weeks to come. But this game is gonna mean a lot to the AUC. I talked about it in the spring, but in the fall, it's even bigger.
Yeah. This right here will be a big game. Both coaches will be 9 games in. Don't know. Mathis might be 10 games in around this time. So you should be pretty much settled with what you do and who you are. Uh, this game right here is going to be right now. I'm calling this game a toss up, and the reason why I'm calling this game a toss up, I don't know exactly what Clark is going to do, and I also don't know exactly what Morehouse is going to do. If this is Clark and Morehouse from last year, shit, I'm taking Morehouse. If this is Clark and Morehouse from 2 years ago, yeah, I'm taking Morehouse. But right now, it's a toss up. It can go either way. I will have to pick this game after I see a couple spring practices, probably after I see both spring games, and then probably see 2 to 3 games in the regular season as well. A lot of people, you show something in the spring and you look pretty good, but then when you get to the fall, you just don't do it no more. Like, well, damn, why you go back and reinvent the wheel? But then I'll be like, well, hell, your defense won't shit to start off with. That's why you were scoring. So I'm gonna kind of wait on that to pick that one down. But I'm expecting that game to probably be 20,000 people there.
Hey, nah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I can see it. We two competitive competitive Clark and competitive Morehouse definitely is gonna draw a crowd. I think the unknowing about the situation is that the two new head coaches. We know what Morehouse was last year, which was a hard nosed team that played some defense, ran the ball hard. We know about Coach Teddy Keaton and how he runs his team, which is mainly offensively heavy. Defense
Yep.
will bend but don't break.
Bama don't break. And he got Coach Cole. He got Coach Cole over there.
Right.
One thing that I can say, and I don't want for nobody to take this the wrong way. It's easier to recruit at Clark Atlanta than it is to recruit at Allen University. So he's going to be able to get some players at Clark that Coach King couldn't get at Allen.
Right.
You know, this it's just is what it is. And I don't want for nobody to take that the wrong way. It's just easier to recruit at Clark than it is at Allen. So he's going to be able to get some players at Clark that can step in and help him right now than it is for him to get some players at Allen. And I'm going to give you a prime example. We can segue this into some of their recruiting. Clark took a DB out of the transfer portal from Troy University. Now, I know Troy, Alabama's not big, but Troy University is usually pretty decent in football year in and year out. They play in the Sun Belt. They played my Duke Blue Devils in one of them damn bowls. I think they played in the Birmingham Bowl, and they took a DB from them named Tavares Williams out of Troy. Clark King can get that kid at Clark. You in Atlanta.
Right.
Why wouldn't you? Then it is for you to get this kid at Allen in Columbia. He wouldn't have been able to get this kid in Columbia at Allen, but you can get this kid in Atlanta at Clark. So he's going to have some big time transfers, and I really like the recruiting class that they have announced so far. So I'm sure there's going to be some others that's going to be added down the line.
So I pulled up the mid-year transfers for Clark Atlanta. Clark has put in a lot of work, mainly at Allen University. Okay, they bringing in
Yep.
8 players from Allen. As you said, they have other players. They even got a player from Jackson State.
Yep.
They have kind of diversified their portfolio. Right, this is not
Yeah.
a strictly high school based team. Clark has now moved into the 21st century. Transfer portal is happening. They have a couple of guys that I really love, a couple of guys I don't know much about. But I'll say the guys that stand out, a guy like Armand Harris being on this list. I think that was one of the biggest gets for this Clark Atlanta.
That's a big get. That's a big get for them. David Wright, homeboy. You got to go. And I like some of the transfers they got, and you might not know about some of these kids yet, Flitz. You know, they got an offensive lineman out of Morgan State named Janae Sumner. They got another offensive lineman named Demetrius Singleton that's from Shorter. You know, they got a couple DBs, the Williams kid from Troy. They got another kid, another Singleton, Jonathan Singleton, another long DB out of Cumberland, which is the NAIA program out of Tennessee that's pretty decent year in and year out. You know, so they have some pieces. They also got Virgil Young, who was at Lane. The wide receiver that was at Lane. And Coach Keaton also signed some high school kids. You know, they got an offensive lineman named Derek McIntosh out of Michigan. Big offensive lineman. They got a local defensive lineman edge rusher named Antonio Steiner. And he looked like he's about 6'3", about 240. 6'3", 6'4", about. Yeah. And so, you know, one thing that we always worried about with Clark was, are they going to get bigger? They going to get bigger across the line? They have got bigger across the line. And like, you know, and Keaton also signed 3 quarterbacks. So he signed 3 high school quarterbacks this year. He signed 3 high school quarterbacks. So if everything holds true, you got David Wright, you got Andrew Banks, you got the Deshaun Vincent kid, and Heath Williams still got another year, and you signed 3 other kids. That's a hell of a quarterback room.
They about as deep as Morehouse now, about 7 deep,
Hey.
8 deep.
Well, you know, being a football coach, like I tell anybody, you know, you're gonna have somebody say, "Why you got so many quarterbacks?" Well, you want a quarterback for each year, so you know you got 4 because you want one for each year. Then you want a red shirt, so that's 5. Then you want 2 projects, so that's 7. Your 2 walk-ons. That's what you want. Yeah, it might not be enough reps to go around, but your 2 project kids are your scout team quarterbacks. You want to see what you have. You know what I'm saying? So the days of being where we ain't got the 3 quarterbacks, you can't win with that because if 2 of those go down, then you're bringing in a receiver to play quarterback. The good thing about this year, especially with the SIAC and Division II period, you got the week 0 game, so now you can get a bye to kind of get healthy. Before you were playing 10 games in 10 weeks or 11 games in 11 weeks. So if somebody got hurt, you really never got a week off for that person to kind of get back healthy. So, you know, you have to be able to have quarterbacks. You know, you go to some other programs and some other Division II programs like Shorter in the state or like the South Atlantic. These guys got 20, 25 linemen on the roster. You look at Morehouse and Clark, it's 13 linemen. They got 25, 27 linemen on it because you want to bring in 5 linemen a year and you want to have 1, then you want to have 5 that red shirt so they kind of grow up together.
Right.
So you want to have those 25. One thing that our rosters in the conference look like, we have 13 linemen, but we have 26 damn DBs and none of them's over 6 foot. So we kind of hustling. Yeah, you got to have depth in that quarterback room. You got to have depth in that offensive line room. You have to. The way this conference is not 3 yards in a cloud of dust anymore. This conference now throws the football. You got David Wright. You got Kelvin Durham. You had Klein Peter. You had Russell.
We had Dennis.
You had Dennis. You got Bryson Williams down at Tuskegee. You got Polo at Lane. You had, I forget, I'm just gonna call him Alec. You had Alec at
His name was Alex, so I did look it up.
Alec Lewis. You had Alec Lewis at Central State. So the conference is throwing the ball. So you have to be able to rotate bodies in. You have to.
Yeah, it's a different game.
It's a different ball game.
And it still starts up front, which is
the trenches is still the.
Yeah, we saw the teams that usually win it are usually the teams that control the trenches. We seen Tuskegee and Benedict go up to the championship. 2 teams that controlled the trenches. This past year, Albany kind of snuck in there. They did a decent job in the trenches. But Benedict, again, brought it with Jaden Broad and Lou Denellis, all those different guys. That is what a championship team is in the SIAC. It's going to be built up front. So seeing this Clark Atlanta team go ahead and make a true commitment to getting bigger on the defensive line and getting deeper on the offensive line shows me that Coach Teddy Keaton has a commitment to winning, and he also understands what it takes to win in this conference.
What it takes to win. We talked to Coach Keaton after they played Benedict last year. And he was talking about that the kid, he was actually transferred from Benedict. I forget his name. He was number 97. He transferred to South Carolina State.
Jaden Broad.
Not Broughton. But Coach Keem, we couldn't block him. And he was a freshman. We couldn't block him. That's what the trenches is like every game. Benedict with Broughton and Denellis and Lou. Then you go down to Fort Valley with Alderman and what they do. Then Albany defense is usually good year in and year out. Then you got Deeds over at that was at Tuskegee. Then
at Kentucky State.
Yeah, the big boy. They got it's a really good league. And you have to be solid in the trenches. If you're not solid in the trenches, you're gonna get your head busted open. And I love what Coach Keaton has done. He has addressed the offensive line and he has addressed the defensive line as well. And they're gonna continue to address those 2 positions throughout the summer as well. Recruiting is not over by any means.
It's still going. And that big lineman he was talking about was Joshua Barker.
Joshua Barker.
He's a beast down there. So, moving on from Clark, we gave you a nice breakdown recruiting, and we'll continue as the offseason goes on. Close to the spring game, we'll see even more recruits. We got to talk about Morehouse offense coordinator.
Here we go. I don't think he's coming. They were doing some negotiation and the school that he's at now up their price. So I don't know if he's coming or not. But he's a
Northern Minnesota State. I got questions.
Montana State Northern. But one of the things is this guy is a disciple of June Jones, who is the father of the run and shoot. So who better than, if that's what you want to do, if you want to be a run and shoot spread type team, who better than to get as an offensive coordinator than the guy that he learned it from? You know what I mean? So June Jones, at one time that run and shoot couldn't be stopped. everybody was trying to figure it out, but it's morphed over the years into the spread offense, but now it's some RPOs into it. But if Coach Bassard do decide to come, he learned this from June Jones. So who better to teach it than somebody who learned it from the founding father of the run and shoot?
So, I mean, this has kind of caught me off guard. So, does Morehouse have other candidates they are now interviewing to bring in, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, from what I understand, it's 3 or 4 other guys. They all have NFL experience.
Okay.
They all have they all have NFL experience. Pretty much the majority of the staff at Morehouse are NFL guys. The guys who played in the NFL, might have coached in the NFL. You know, like Bassard. He's at Montana State Northern, but he was at UCLA for a while. Then he was at SMU as a running back coach for a while up under June Jones when June Jones was there. Then he took a high school job. Then he went up to Montana State Northern. So a lot of these guys have had some type of coaching experience in the NFL or the XFL or USFL or whatever you want to call it. But most of these guys that's on the staff has played in the NFL. You know, we talking about a Bob Whitfield who played in the NFL for 12, 15 years with the Atlanta Falcons as his offensive line coach. You know, the guy made 6 or 7 Pro Bowls. Now, a lot of people ain't gonna know who Bob Whitfield was, a football player, but his wife or his ex-wife was on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Sherry or Sharia, whatever her damn name is, I don't damn know. Yeah. But you know, he played in the NFL for the Falcons for a while. Hardy Nickerson, who's the defensive coordinator, played in the NFL for a while. He played with Derek Brooks down in Tampa Bay, up on the Coach Dungy, won the ring with Coach Dungy down in Tampa Bay as a linebacker. So some of these guys have a lot of NFL experience. I'm hearing that Mohamed Sanu might be coming on to the staff. And if, you know, some of y'all who don't know who Mohamed Sanu is, he was a big-time quarterback coming out of high school, went to Rutgers and switched over to wide receiver, and then was drafted into the NFL, played with the Falcons for a little while, and I want to say when they played with the Eagles for a year or two. So he has some.
He was the opposite of Julio Jones.
Yeah, so you know, you got some guys who's gonna play at the highest level, who's gonna be on the coaching staff.
Hey, if Mohamed Sanu pulls up, that's big. You know, you want to talk about recruiting pitches.
And Muhammad and Mr. Sanu he lives locally. He lives out in Gwinnett County. I know this because my youngest son plays football with them for the North Gwinnett Bulldogs. So that's how I know that he lives in the area. Everything that goes along with this, but I think that he will be a very, very, very good pickup for Morehouse if they can get him to sign on.
Yeah, let me tell you this, Damian. What I'm seeing from Morehouse and Clark right now, we're seeing 2 different dichotomies of programs going around. I'm looking at Morehouse kind of like the Patriots, whereas you got like kind of Bill Belichick, you know, as a little more defensive oriented around the trenches, a little more reclusive. Then you look at Clark Atlanta, feels much more like the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel. Let's just let it hang. We got some guys, we got an offense. Let's see what we can do.
You know,
forward in this whole situation, what do you think of this? What do you think? You see it building. What do you think of this?
You know, going back to what you were just saying about, I would not have said Mike McDaniel. Damn him. I know he black, but damn him. I would have went like Bill Belichick with the defense, and then I would have went with Mike Martz out with the Rams as the offense. You know, 2 totally different styles of play. Belichick's was going to be really conservative on offense because he knew his defense was going to do what they done. And Mike Martz like, hey, Kurt Warner, you're going to throw this thing to Isaac Bruce and Torrey Hope and Eddie Kennison, and we're gonna let these things hang. And if they can keep up, they can keep up. We don't care if we give up 25 to them because we're gonna score 40.
Right.
So it's a little bit of the same thing.
Opposites.
Yep, complete opposites. I know Morehouse just got a couple commits from a couple younger, couple high school kids from around the area within the past 2 weeks. I'm thinking that Coach Keaton, the offense will be okay. They're trying to rebuild that defense to get to where he wanted to be, where they can be championship worthy. He might not get there this year. He might not get there next year. That might be a 3 to 5 year thing for him to get that defense to where he wants to get it to. But the offense is gonna be let's go from day one. He's an offensive mind coach. So that's his thing. Shit, you got to outscore us. So and I think that with Coach Mathis, I think that with the staff that he got, there's going to be a little bit more balance. It might be 60% defense, 40% offense, and that can shift throughout the year where the offense might be more than what the defense is. But I think that the defense is going to be ahead of the offense right now, and probably to start the year off. And the offense might be able to kick it into gear game 3, game 4, game 5. But I'm thinking that Coach Keith, when they touch down in Fort Valley on August the 31st, their offense is going to be in high gear. You just got to figure out they just have to figure out what their defense is going to be. So that's kind of some of the stuff with that. They just got to figure out what their defense is going to be, and they got some pieces on defense, but we don't know if that defensive scheme is going to change any or not. We saw Allen last year against Fort Valley, where we had the watch party. We also saw Allen last year against Kentucky State, where Kentucky State jumped out on them 33-7. Allen ended up winning the game 38-33, but it took a heroic David Wright to get them to that game, to get them that win. So you looking at it. Most defense is going to be better than Kentucky State, maybe not. So that's how you looking at it. It's either we're gonna have to outscore some people until our defense get to where we want for it to be. But he's gonna have the pieces in place where if they do get in the shootouts, he's gonna be ready. He's gonna have those pieces in play. Like we talked a couple weeks ago. They got those receivers back. He got the kid Amon from Allen. He got this kid Virgil from Lane. So we know what that receiving room looked like. You know what I mean? We know we have seen David Wright for 2 years, and we know what he can do with the ball. We know, they lost Kenzie, but they got Douglas back. They got the Gibbs kid back. On offense, they got plenty of pieces. They're gonna be up. There's gonna be a trap meet with them. It is plenty of pieces on offense. It's gonna depend on how their offensive line hold up, and they had one of the better offensive lines last year. And then we're also gonna have some, and this is for Morehouse and for Clark. We're gonna have some kids who's gonna leave after the spring. So that's also gonna be, we're gonna have to keep an eye on that as well. Which kid leaves after the spring ball because he don't feel that he's gonna get a fresh shake with playing or whatever. So we